Hey, what's happening out there? Got my coffee going here. White glass coffee, Shibuya. Delicious. And what's up? Can you guys see me okay? You can hear me okay? Everything's working okay? I think I should probably just plug in my computer so that the battery on the old lapper doesn't die while we're talking. Ooh. No problem with that idea. Is that I don't have my. Okay, we'll see what happens here. Just turn the screen down a little bit. I've got my laptop plugged into my cell phone charger, but you know all the plugs here in Japan. For those that don't know, kind of an interesting little tidbit. The plugs are a two-pronger. I don't know how they ground here in Japan because there's no three-prong plug, you know. And it'd take me a minute to dig through my bag and see if I've got an adapter. So kind of the only way I've been charging my computer is actually just via my cell phone charger, which you can do now. You can plug it in on a modern Mac, right? Using the what do they call it, a lightning connector, whatever, or no, not a lightning connector, a USB 3 style, whatever the heck is it. Maybe it is. I don't know. I got them all mixed up. Anyways, that style, like on my AirPods case, and that'll charge your laptop, but it's really slow. So hopefully it'll be all right. Anyway, blah 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 blah. But yeah, kind of interesting. I don't know how they ground here, and ground here can be dodgy. I was running into that some of the other day where the bass player in the band that I'm over here playing with switched something on his rig, and it changed the audio ground through my rig. Like all of a sudden I had all this buzz, and it was related to my wireless. I was like, what happened? Like it was working yesterday, everything was fine, and then one of the techs had flipped a ground in the bass rig, and that had caused a buzz in my rig. I was like, okay, I don't like that very much. It's weird. Like I don't understand. We're not like, I don't know, just the power's on. I don't know. Anyway, strange. Yeah, I'm in Shibuya now. I think last week I was in Fujisawa. There's Shibuya out the window there, sort of. A little bit of Japan for you there. Daytime. I'm in the future if you're in the United States, or even Europe, I guess. I'm in the future. It's tomorrow, Monday. So what happened this week? I put out a video for the Synergy Marshall JMP module. Maybe you might have seen it. It sounds really good, that thing, I think. Got lots of nice comments on the video. If you're looking for that old school Marshall thing, look no further. It's really good at it. It has this circuit built in that kind of replicates the power amp breaking up and compression and stuff that you get when you turn up one of those old 4-hole Marshalls, and slam it in the phase inverter. Basically, it's simulating a through a tube. It means it's actual tube. It's happening, simulating what a phase inverter does when you push into it really hard, and it works quite well. Yeah. Anyway, what else we got here? What are you guys talking about in the chat? Who's here? We got Mark and Victor and Chris and Ryan and CO and Earl, and good to see all you guys. Let's talk about Macs for a minute. MacBook Pro yesterday. Enjoyed my weekend, but man, is Luna hard to learn. Yeah, Joe, Luna. So Luna, for those that don't know, is the DAW that is the Universal Audio's DAW, and I quite like it. I mean, I think it's really good in some ways. There's other things about it that are sort of, if you're used to, I guess, Pro Tools or Logic, it's like anything, there's a learning curve. But mixing in it sounds really great. Using the built-in, there's like built-in analogs, simulated summing, as well as tape on every channel, and like Studer style, that you can activate on every channel. So kind of like just trying to get closer and closer and closer to what an analog board sounds like, really like a nice SSL or Neve. There's Neve summing and SSL summing. I think you can do either. I did a couple mixes in it, and I thought it was great. And I recorded a little bit in it. Doing MIDI was a little more difficult, for sure, than Logic. But it's probably come a long way since I tried it. It was a few years ago now. So it was really good, and I did enjoy mixing in it and thought it sounded really great. So for those that haven't tried it, it's interesting. I find with DAWs generally, like most software, we see this in guitar modeling units. We see it in they come out. A company releases something, and then they learn from other companies what their customers like and want, and then they all get closer and closer and closer and closer. I find like through. Because some people you say, oh, Pro Tools for recording, but Logic for all MIDI, like you don't want to do any, and maybe that's still the case in some, but they'll learn and they'll add features from other DAWs that make them, to eliminate some of those what people see as deficiencies in one or the other, and make it closer to the other one as far as quality. So, yeah. Yeah. The thumbnail is my buddy. I was going to say that. Who's that guy? If for those that don't know, some of you will know, but that's my buddy Dax from Cheap Trick. So Cheap Trick is over here right now, and unfortunately, I did get to hang with him for one night, which was great. Saw him for a few hours and had a little sushi. Went out for a beverage. That place that we're in right there is a great bar called the Star. That's a Rolling Stones bar. So you can see all the Stones stuff if you look closely in the thumbnail in front of me, and it's a record bar here, not just a record bar. Like a record bar, they play LPs. They do that there, but they'll play, not LPs in there. It's more about the rock vibe or whatever than it is about it being a vinyl bar. Although they do sometimes have vinyl DJs and all that and just play rock and roll, but it's always great, Stones plus other rock and roll music. The other night they were playing Keith Richards' solo album in there. It's cool. So we met up there. I mean, Dax is, of course, been in Cheap Trick for 16 years as the drummer, and he's Rick Nielsen's son. And they're playing Budokan this is their final tour, doing that thing. Rick's about 76 years old now, I think. I looked it up the other day. Doing a final run through and one more time at Budokan. I would love to see them there, because of course that's the legendary live album that put them on the map and sold 10 million copies and whatever else, just made them worldwide sensation that they became. I was talking last night with my buddy Kato that from the Beat Cafe here, which is a place that if you want to visit, great, awesome hole in the wall, that's somewhat difficult to find, but seek it out if you come to Tokyo, the Beat Cafe. And Kato Man, who's a bartender that's there most nights, usually 5 nights a week, 6 nights maybe. And he's an old friend, and he's just making making a rattling noise. I was going to turn it off. Anyway, I was talking with Kato Man about live albums. And because we were talking about Dax and Cheap Trick, of course, Budokan, and how interesting to me it is that live albums in the 70s became, in a few cases, the sort of like breakthrough and massive seller for a few different artists. One of them was obviously Cheap Trick, who live at Budokan, but Peter Frampton, of course, comes live, Kiss. These albums put these bands on the map and broke them to a far bigger audience than they did. So it was an interesting time in music, like the era of the arena and then becoming stadium concerts, You had the Beatles I love talking about this and find it fascinating, but you had the Beatles in 66, right? Stopped playing live. I think it was 66. Because they were like, this is pointless. This is not what we're about. The fans can't hear us. Just a bunch of screaming people, and they're not really there for the music. They're there for the music, of course, but they're not really, they can't hear us. So they're more there for the experience of just seeing us and freaking out and fainting and all that. And they just didn't want to do that anymore, and they became basically studio bands. Fast forward to about, 5-6 years later, and you've got the obviously the Grateful Dead, and developing their wall of sound and everything. And I remember you see pictures of bands in 71, 72, 73, 74. By then you've got big stacks, PA stacks have been developed, and mixing consoles, and then lighting start to happen and get really interesting by the mid 70s. And you watch maybe even Song Remains the Same or something by Zeppelin, which is what is it, 75 or 76 or something, and the lighting's not like that great, but by the late 70s you're seeing bands like Genesis and with these crazy light rigs and stuff. Certainly by the early 80s, it's like mind blowing, you know. And Queen, certainly, like Queen always had, you know, by the late 70s, they just had amazing lights. And so cool. The era of the live show was just like, it was all about, you know, the album kind of, you know, if it was a studio album, was to kind of promote a big tour, a big world tour, and everybody wanted to go to the concert and everything. And I guess just to some degree, it's still like that, but it's just, we don't have live albums now that define an artist's career and break them like we did with Frampton Comes Alive, Kiss Alive too, right? And certainly Cheap Trick Live at Budokan. So yeah, I find all that quite interesting, that era in rock and roll and popular music in general. What else are you guys talking about? Are you close to Osaka? No, but I'll be there. I'm going to Osaka actually tomorrow because we have 2 gigs, first and second, at Osaka Joe Hall. So I'm just getting the tour started. It's only 7 shows, stretched out over a few months. So I kind of come and go from here, but we're doing 3 in this first period here where I'm hanging here, and then headed to Osaka tomorrow. We're going to do production rehearsal, and then rock out the next couple of days. So, and then I'll be back in Tokyo for a bit. Yeah. Did you get your Friedman Jose tribute amp yet? I haven't done anything. No, with the I haven't even tried it yet, to be honest. I think they wanted me to make a video for it, but they said maybe later would be better, because I think that they are making, like, I think it's basically gone very well. They've sold a bunch of them, and there might not be a point in me making a video right now because, you know, the release already happened, but they were like, maybe to keep it, you know, interest a little bit later in the fall. So, and I can't do it anyway because I'm over here. So that's that story. Yeah. Let's see. What else here? Just gonna double check my battery here. Power source, power adapter. I've got 10% battery. I'm just gonna shut all my, just for a sec, guys. Here, I'm gonna shut all my other applications and stuff, so I'm not using any extra battery, because I'd have to go to the phone, which would work if all else were to fail. But I want to make sure I don't have any extra applications here that are kind of taking power and stuff, because I'm low in battery. And for those that just joined, I was mentioning that I've got my computer connected using my cell phone charger, just because I don't want to search through my bag for my adapter for my computer power charger. That's boring. Let's not talk about that anymore. I think we'll be okay if I just do this. I'll turn down the screen just a little. Do you remember the old Warhead cabinet? It was Randall with the big speakers on the bottom that Dime used years ago. I thought that was cool. Yeah, I think there's some other amps like Bill, what's his name? Bill Keller, is that right? From Mastodon. His signature Friedman cab maybe had, it wasn't a 415. Maybe it was 215s and 212s or something. Could be. I could be wrong about that. It might be 415s. It was a giant cabinet. But he's another one. And then you had the old Rivera. I can't remember the name of it, but it was the amp that Steve Lukather used for a long time from Rivera. And I think it had like a sub cabinet thing going on for extra bottom end, right? Wasn't there? There's a couple other amps that have existed where they used the subby kind of great big low end cabinet. Those are the ones I can think of. Of course, Stevie Ray Vaughan with this 15 for with the, I gotta turn off that AC. It's driving me crazy, or at least change the fan speed. Really? Let's turn it off. Get a little warm in here, but whatever. I've had issues with the, keeping me up at night in here. It's AC. But anyways, Stevie Ray Vaughan, vibroverb. Part of the sound that he, created, signature sound, was the vibroverb to me with the 115. Just a great sounding amplifier. I remember plugging into a vibroverb 63 for the first time with playing my friend's 63 Strat, and I was like, oh, that's that sound. That's the closest I ever sounded to Stevie Ray Vaughan. Not that I have it in my hands, but or the heart, but that, play some of those licks through that. It was like, oh man, that's that tone. The 15 was key, I think. Super reverb too, he played through. Sometimes I think both. I'm having a deja vu. I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but super reverb and vibroverb, great sound. Yeah. One of the only other amps I can think of that had a 15, other than like PVs that were kind of meant for steel guitar and things, was maybe the PV Delta Blues. Remember that? Tweed kind of, I thought basically I think like the classic 50 style. Maybe it was a classic 30 power amp, either the 30 or 50, but it had a 15 in it. Yeah, kind of interesting. Or not. Have you checked out any Fjord fuzz pedals? I have not. I'd love to hear them. Fjord. Thanks, Richard. I'll have to check them out. I was going to say, Guitar Summit happened this week in Germany. Might be some people, because it's daytime over there, that were at Guitar Summit. I think it's over today, because today's Monday. So yeah, in Germany it'll be Monday morning here, I guess. Pretty quick. So yeah, ended. Looked amazing. There was a lot of people there. It just looked like it was like packed getting in there every day. Guitar Summit, for those that don't know, is a big festival in Mannheim, Germany, that kind of took over after Music Messe, the big German NAMM, their version of it, kind of went away. Did it go away? Is it completely gone? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. But I think it used to be massive and very popular, but I never got over there. I never went to it. But when it, started kind of, I don't know what happened, why, a show that big just kind of went away. But anyways, Guitar Summit was kind of born out of that, I think, to fill that void. And I've attended it 3 times, I think. And really, really like it. It's a nice show. So that happened this weekend. I was sorry I couldn't be there, because can't be everywhere. I'm over here. Yeah. And I think Gearfest was happening the same weekend at Sweetwater. So Suhr was out there. Friedman was out there. Yeah. If you want good pasta, you can go to Kabe no Ana in Shibuya. Get the pasta with meat sauce. I bet it's great. Not really my thing here, but I'm sure this is great. I've had great Italian food here. Actually, the guys from Vemoram and Matteo Sasato, I went out a year ago here for a terrific Italian meal in Ebisu. It was awesome. But yeah, generally I like to kind of eat Japanese food when I'm here, generally. I'm sure it's great, though. I'm sure it's awesome. I lied. Yesterday I went, you can see if you saw my Instagram, I went for a galette, because my favorite, I don't know how you say it, Barise Cafe in Paris. There's a few locations in Paris. Amazing place for galettes and crepes. They have a Tokyo location, because there's this link between, I think, somebody that is from Japan helped start that restaurant in France. Anyway, so there's a Tokyo location. It's exactly the same. It even looks the same on the inside as the main one I go to in Paris when I'm in France. And I had a galette yesterday. So I lie. I had French food yesterday. It was delicious. It was outstanding. I mean, just awesome. Artichoke hearts, cream and cheese and egg and ham. Come on. It's my favorite breakfast. All right, but you can eat it any time of day, of course. It's not just for breakfast. Galette. Fantastic. Blue Oyster Cult's light show. Yeah, Blue Oyster Cult had a great light show. They did. I never saw them live, but I've got fond memory, and I learned some things from watching the Black and Blue movie, if anybody ever saw that. Anybody remember that movie? It was Black Sabbath, Ronnie Dio era, Black Sabbath, and Blue Oyster Cult concert movie, where they'd play a song from Sabbath, play a song from Blue Oyster Cult, song from Sabbath, song from Blue Oyster Cult, back and forth. Pretty cool. Yeah. 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 Raxall says, not used to Pete at this hour, but it's cool. Yeah, sorry, it's late. I know I'm not going to have as many people because anybody on the East Coast is probably going to bed. You got to get up for work on Mondays and stuff. But I couldn't muster up the energy last night. It was too late when which would have been around the 11:30 hour or whatever that's at here. 67. Yeah. Last night I would have had to go live at like 1:30 or 2 in the morning. And yeah, I was in not the right state of mind to do that. So I didn't. Doing it now. How are the Japanese fans? Japanese fans are amazing. They're devoted and loyal and just really, they're very excited just if they recognize you or something while you're out, and always very nice, respectful, and super into it too at the same time. So yeah, always great. We haven't played a show yet here, so I haven't seen any Tyoshi Nagabuchi fans in the flesh yet out, at the gig. But shows start pretty soon here in a couple days. I'll be doing it. About 4 days from now, I'll be gigging. Get the first 2 under our belt, and I'll be back here in Tokyo for a bit. Arthur says, I never get a notice, but you found us somehow. I just started, 20 minutes ago, so you didn't miss that much. We just been talking about Gillettes and Cheap Trick and all that good stuff. Almost midnight in Nova Scotia. That's right. You're probably 4 time zones from California, right? Is that right? Going to bed. Want to say hi. Hey, thanks, Todd. Sorry it's so late, and maybe next week I can try and do the show a little bit, more sometime around the regular time. Maybe I can do it on a Sunday night here at. Is it Sunday night? Yeah, so Sunday night here, but not at at like midnight. Which would be 8 a.m. in LA, 11 a.m. on the East Coast. That might be all right, right? I always think people are like me and they're not going to be up at 8 a.m. on a Sunday. It's like, who wants to do that? Because I'm a musician, But maybe some of you guys are. When the Beatles quit touring, just worked in the studio, Lennon said it allowed them to record things in the studio they didn't have to play live, allowing greater creativity. Yeah, for sure. They became a studio band, really, and they could do Sgt. Pepper's and not worry about it, not having to worry about going out on the road and supporting a record. There's lots of songs like that McCartney does now live that, the Beatles never did. I think he just started a tour, which is amazing. What is he, 82, 83 years old? It's wild. So, yeah. Braxel says, I need to try the Jose. Had mine for months now and love it. Yeah, I got to give it a go, for sure. I have a really similar amp. The Germino I have has all that stuff in it, although it's probably a little more sophisticated. So I may get one and, sell my Germino maybe so that I've got one of those amps. I think could be the way that I go. But the Germino I've got is pretty cool too, with very, very similar stuff going on. There's a few more options like the switchable presence, I think, in the official Jose amp. Maybe a couple other things that I don't have. What are your thoughts on the Reload 2 versus Power Station as far as the power amp? I would say it's more, it's very neutral. Does a really good job reproducing the amp. It doesn't have quite as much juice. Like you're going to run out of headroom sooner than the Fryette, but for a lot of people that's not a problem because it's by that point it's very loud. So I just noticed that with the Fryette is very powerful. Of course, it's mono too, so you've got the added sort of with the Friedman, the added not Friedman. Sorry, with the Fryette, you've got the mono tube, all tube, and the tone versus stereo for the other one. Tone and volume and everything you get out of the Fryette. I mean, it's a little more colored, I would say. It's still quite flat, the Fryette. But I think that, like, for instance, if I reamp a modeler, okay, my Quad Cortex, because I tried this through both the Power Station or through the 2-notes unit, I think that the 2-notes unit is more neutral. Yeah, more neutral. The Fryette still adds its own little bit of thing as it whatever he's doing in there with the circuit and stuff like that between the load and the power amp, it sounds very neutral for sure. Like I've always thought it was so close to just the amp direct through to the cabinet, and I've used it for years. But I did notice a bit more tube amp color or something like that when I was like that it was doing its own thing just a little bit when I use a quad cortex into the line in on it. That's what I'm trying to say. Modeler into line in of each unit is kind of telling. And then, sorry, you've stereo on the the two notes is a fairly big deal for some folks, I would say. The fact that you can do that. So, any word on the PT50? There's a thread on the gear page about it that people seem really interested. We've been talking about it. I'm supposed to have a meeting when I go back, I think, to LA. We were going to get together and kind of try and have a where are we on track, or and what's the schedule looking like for it. So I might have some more info maybe in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, something like that on that. It's taken a very long time. John's always got a lot on his plate and stuff like that, and just kind of getting him on it, and keeping it going is one thing. But I love the guy, and I decided years ago I used to kind of like push a little more with these things that we're working on, and be a little more like, come on, we gotta, like, I'd be like I probably a little frustrated is fair to say at times, and then I kind of just sort of let that go away, and that's just my honest, because he's busy, he's got a lot going on. It's a small design team there. He does work on it, he cares about it. I know he wants to get it done, and I'm very, very, very happy with my relationship with that company. We're family, and like with any family, you've got everything's not always the way that you want, and it can't be, and it would be selfish of me. And they're always so helpful, and guitars happen quite quickly. Those guys got me a 7-string last year in like 3 weeks, so that I could go out and play it with Steve and Joe on the Satchvi tour. They made me a guitar in like no time because I needed one. It was either that or I go get an Ibanez or something, and which one, fine. Ibanez makes great guitars, but I want to play Suhr because I'm a Suhr guy. And they made it happen in such short order and lent me one in the meantime so that I could learn the songs because I'd never really played 7-string. So, so helpful, and anytime I have an idea or something I want to do, it's like a dream come true, with that company. So anyway, this isn't probably the answer that you wanted to hear, but that's it takes a long time sometimes, and especially with electronics, to develop things. But I do want to have a meeting with them and get a little bit of like having said what I just said, like a little bit of it on track, like where are we at? What can I hope for? Like, when is there going to be a prototype so that we can start? Invariably, there's going to be things you want to change, try it out. Oh, we could do this better or that better. And then that takes a little bit of time. And so, that's where we're at on it. And I'll keep you posted, ask me again in about 4 weeks and I'll let you know what it's looking like. There's no secret at this point that we're doing it at some point. It's so might as well just talk about it as it comes a little bit, without giving away all the surprises. But line 6 has come out with a new Powercab with 112 and 212 speakers, but they have no tweeters. Really? I haven't seen that. I guess I have to take a look at that. I was out at line 6 and did something recently for the new Helix Stadium, I think it's called. They asked me to come up with a few pieces of music to demonstrate some of the different models in there and stuff. I'm not sure if that video's out. Might be. But I think it was me and I'm not sure who else was in it. It was Ryan, I think. And a few other guys were in there doing their, playing different. I was like the rock guy, and then there was some other like sort of more modern down-tuned metal players and stuff. But anyways, it might be out now. Matt didn't mention though new cabinet, my artist guy there. So I didn't see that, but I think that unit's nice. I mean, the new version of the Helix, and it seems like they made some good advancements. So I'll have to try and get a hold of one and spend a little time with it when I have some time. I had a power station. Now I have the Reload. Do you think there's a difference in feel? Change the feel. Well, it's quite possible. I mean, like I say, the power station could be adding a little bit of a feel thing that you might like, a little bit of a damping between the speakers or something, because it's a tube amp. So, I feel like the tone is really, really, really similar, if not exactly the same as when, when I'm using pretty much either of them, to be honest. But maybe you're right. Maybe there's a little more je ne sais quoi with the Fryette, but that's maybe because it's enhancing a little. You are using a tube reamp, so I feel like the basic character of the Reload 2 is neutral, very neutral. That the sound of my amp into the cabinet, then insert that load box reamp in the middle, get it up to the same level. And it's not, as long as you're not trying to get up to the level of a cranked master volume, 50 or 100 watt Marshall. If it's a little below that, which most people can't even use an amp at that volume these days, it'd be impossible for any gigs, just about anywhere. So as long as you're not trying to do that, I feel like the tone is basically exactly the same. That's what it sounds like to me. So, yeah. Okay, I'm just going through the comments here. Let's see. At the end of your demo, your last Temple 24, you get this great wide stereo spread. I don't remember what I was doing exactly on that demo. I'd have to give it a listen, but I've already actually made some changes to that board because it now has a VP4 on it instead of the Nunaber reverb and dig delay. I put the VP4 on there so I could just kind of have an all-in-one stereo effect solution. But generally speaking, if I'm doing a wide stereo thing, there's a couple different ways that I go about it. It's usually a stereo delay that's either like 250 on one side and 500 milliseconds on the other kind of thing, or maybe 300 and 600. It's either that, or it's maybe a little bit of pitch coming from Eventide, a la, Eddie Van Halen style. Speaking of which, I've got something I want to talk about with that. But also that reverb was quite dense, and that Nunaber reverb had a real wide thing going on if you wanted it. Very good sounding. I was going to say about Van Halen, geez, there's this new YouTube site up that's put up all this like unreleased stuff. It's like demos and it sounds like almost like portable cassette recordings of song ideas. Like, where did this person get all this? Where are they all coming from? I'm sure it's not making the official camp happy, and I do have mixed feelings about it. I mean, it's of course interesting to listen to that stuff, but I do also feel like, well, this would be an amazing official release at some point with a proper mix and maybe even like a extras, included. I know it's really fun to hear them and stuff, and I'm listening like anybody because it's amazing, but I feel like it's somehow that experience cheapens the whole thing of it not being in a package that's a little more, professionally put together and stuff like that. Because some of it sounds rough, and some of it, it's cool. Like you can hear it could sound good with a great proper mix, but some of it sounds a little distorted and stuff, like it's coming off a second generation, recording or something. I don't know what, but yeah, so I have mixed feelings about it. That's my, and I think it would be nice if it was an official thing. So, I did an album with Courtney Love and Billy Corgan years ago that largely, the rough mixes ended up on the internet. And that kind of bummed me out. Somewhere there's a Chad Blake mix, great engineer mixer of that record that I've never heard. And I would love to hear the Chad Blake mix because I bet it sounds really good. It's a very good record, I think. It's more a singer-songwriter kind of record, Courtney Love record. So we spent a long time on that record, months and months and months, and it was a great memory of mine. And I sort of just feel like it's just a little anticlimactic that the way that a lot of those songs ended up is on the internet, just getting heard by, people with the rough mixes or whatever. And I don't know how that came about, but it just sort of leaked, and that's kind of sad to me. But yeah. Anyway. Okay, so we're talking a little bit of the Van Halen stuff. It is interesting to hear these things, no matter what my feelings are on it. Also, this week, I guess it was this week or maybe 2 weeks ago, but the Youngblood Aerosmith song that came out, I love it. It's very much a modern kind of, not necessarily in sound, to some degree in sound and production, but very much a modern pop sort of form. It's a verse, chorus, like maybe double chorus, done. There's no bridge. Maybe there's sort of a bridge, but it's like, it's short. It's got to be 3 minutes long. It's made for TikTok is what I'm getting at. The made for low attention span. But is it ever hooky? Oh God, it's hooky, that song. And it kind of rocks, and it's cool. It sounds great. I think I like it. I don't know. What do you guys hear it, and what do you think? Yeah. Let me know. All that talk about Jackson's last week got me wishing I never sold my neck through body. Soloist. Yeah, those are cool. I got an 89. Let it go in the early 2000s. The guitar that got away, for me, that was probably my 54 Les Paul, but also a number of others, including my old Japanese Charvel model, too. I don't even know where it ended up. Yeah. I'm pretty far back in the chat, so I think I'm going to move down a little bit. And let's see. In your Marshall Synergy module video, I sense some influence from Satch Vai on your playing. I'd love to hear you expand upon that on your next record. Did you? I mean, when I think about it, maybe a little Satriani in the last solo. He does some things like one lick that I did, I guess. But it's really kind of like I was trying to do a kind of Cult meets AC/DC, like that Electric album meets. And I guess I just end up soloing like me. But on my next record, I'd love to do basically like a bit more live arrangement, sort of like bass, drums, guitar, bass, keys, drums, guitar, and then just minimal overdubs. That's kind of my goal for most of it, is to try and not overcook it, basically. There's a guy like outside right now on a balcony across from me. He's talking on the phone, and I guess it's an office building. Yeah, it is. He's up on a roof though, and it's like, it's kind of wild. It's like there's not a hell of a lot of railing there. He's just talking on the phone standing outside, but I'm looking at him like, wow, that's not. I'd be a little like, railing basically comes up to his waist, and then it's about a 8-story down from there. So I'd be like, should have maybe made the railing a little higher. I don't know, whatever. All right. Not going to put any energy into that. Let's see. I'm going to bag a Synergy bundle with that Marshall module. I just love old 60s to early 70s Marshalls. I grew up with them. Yeah, it's a great way to get there, though. Then, if you want that tone, you want an easy way to do it in any volume, I would say. Good way to go. Did any of you guys hear any demos of the Line 6 Stadium? I saw a few demos of it and thought it sounded good. Yeah, so I did a video. I wonder if let me take a quick look and see. I'm just going to check my battery on my computer. Ooh, it is drained a little. If I disappear, we've managed to go 38 minutes, and it went from 10% to 9%. I got my power plugged in with my cell phone charger. So if I go away, I guess that'll be it for this week. But I think it's, it'll probably hang on for at least another 30 or something like that. Yeah, I don't think my computer shuts down until it gets down to 4 or 5%. Yeah. Leading towards Fryette, but having stereo is a big difference. Yeah, this is with regards to the load box and the 2 notes. Yeah, the Fryette's great. I've used it for years. It's awesome. Requires a little more, maintenance. I've had to retube it once and stuff, and it runs a little hot and stuff like that. But it's a great unit, and it sounds terrific. I mean, it was the only game out there in town, basically, for a tube-load reamp for a long time. So, yeah. Austin says, greetings from back home in Pasadena. Glad to see you live tonight. What's up, man? How you doing? Say hi to home for me. I do miss it. I love being here, but I miss home this time. I miss my cats and stuff, and Britt and all nine yards. So it's always nice to be home. You can't have it all. It's been a hell of a year of travel. Cannot complain. Yeah. Ryan says his son. I know you've got a son here, right? Goes to Osaka-sama. I told him if he meets you, then he's supposed to beg you for a pic. Of course. Yeah. Let's see. You guys are to Braxall talking with Richard about the power station connected to a KHE. amp switcher with a Fryette Cyclops to bring in modelers and power amps. That's cool. Run it all with a Stream Deck and MIDI. Wow. That's pretty sophisticated, I would say. Yeah. It's a good question, and it's pertinent. When you play live, is it a mono or stereo amp setup? So I've been stereo for years now, and I generally do stereo, but I've been requested to actually go mono on this. So that's after rehearsals, and I understand why. It's just a question of guitar. There's other ways to do it. Like I could monoize a bunch of my presets and stuff like that and still run through 2 amps. But the reality is I'm at a little bit of a, this band has keyboards, and there's, stereo B3 going a lot and stuff like that. And then 2 guitars, and then Tiyoshi's playing acoustic a lot of the time, like 85% of the time. 3 guitars, and keys and a lot of information, so stereo delays and stuff. You can see where I'm going with this. The boss was listening to the while we were rehearsing, and I think he'd like it if I go mono. So, and I was like, I listened to it. I was like, I understand why. Sometimes it's the right call. Mono is, especially in bigger bands, and what that'll allow me to do is actually just go to. I've got 2 PT100s and 2 412s. I'll just go to one head and one cabinet, and then I'll have a bulletproof backup sitting right beside it if anything's wrong. And I think it'll define the sound of the band a little bit more. Like, just I'll switch my VP4 in a mono output, and I'll be in my space. And sometimes in a band, you want to be in your space. If there's only one guitar player, you've got space. If there's no keyboard player, you've got more space. 3 guitars going and stereo keys, because keys are just stereo. They just are piano and B3 and all that. Yeah. It's one of those. So yeah, I'm gonna get that going tomorrow. Switch over to a mono thing, and I'll just have to change up my mix a little bit and my in-ears and stuff, and I should be fine. So good question. That's pertinent to my week this week. Do we open the can of worms about impedance curves again of the 2 notes load boxes versus Fryette? I don't. It's a new load design that was done by Celestion, evidently. With them, they collaborated with Celestion, which tells me that it's probably pretty close to a true speaker load. My ears tell me it's close to a true speaker load, but I haven't tested it, so I don't know exactly. Like, I haven't done a sweep of the. I don't know how to do that anyway. I would have to go to somebody like Suhr to do that. But my ears are telling me that it's a proper speaker load. That it's mimicking a proper speaker load. Braxel says, I love the tubes that the Fryette power station has. I actually, it's great. Like, it sounds great, but they're actually somewhat difficult. 6550s are a little bit tough to find sometimes now. Maybe not right now, but when the pandemic was happening and stuff, it's a little somewhat difficult, those tubes. So I'm actually not, I wish it was sort of an easier, like, might not be able to get that great sound, and certainly not 100 watts or close to 100 watts or whatever the power station makes out of a pair of anything else. They're the only thing you could do. Oh, I got a super chat there. My first of the week. Check it out in a second. Yeah, check that out. Jim says he's got a link. Oh, here is a link for the new Powercab. I don't know if you can post links. Might not work, but that's okay. I'll go find a link for it in a little bit. Yeah. I'm just hitting that super chat there. Sorry. Here we go. Any cool finds in guitar stores? Just some nice. What did I see? There was a nice guitar I saw yesterday that would be considered affordable. I think it's a Cruise SG. So Cruise, Crews, is the brand that is sold at a store not far from where I'm sitting right now called Huchi's in Shibuya. And they have these guitars called Cruise that are like their line of, they're sort of Gibson copies essentially. And they make a very, very nice Gibson SG copy. And there's one at a store I saw in Shimokitazawa, if anybody's in Shimokita, which is just one express train stop away from Shibuya. What's my point? Just that it was a nice SG, and it was about is it 100,000 yen? So that's probably $70 or $700. Sorry, $700. 700, yeah, something like that. $700, something like that. And it's a proper like Japan made, really good quality, like right up there with Tokai and stuff like that. Glue and Neck SG. It looks great. So that was cool. I saw that yesterday. Anything else? What else did I see? I saw a really cool Tokai jazz bass, like early 80s, 82 or 83 jazz bass. That looked great. As far as American guitars here, I mean, I was in the Fender, the big Fender store. Might go over there again later today, maybe. Go to Harajuku and go to Hyper Guitars and stuff, maybe. Hyper was amazing the other day. I mean, it's just like, what do you want? You want a 54 Les Paul? You want a 69 Les Paul Custom, or how about a 67V? And a beautiful. Here, I'll just show you a couple pictures from when I was in there. Where's my phone? What did I do with my phone? Let's see here. Phone. Guitars. Let me find guitars. Well, all right. So I went in Guitar Traders the other day, and there was that, which is a 65 Shoreline Gold Strat, all original. That was quite beautiful. It's an amazing store. That's the shop, and you can see a bunch of the guitars in the background. So all those Les Pauls lined up there would be. Sorry, I didn't reverse they look like backwards because I didn't flip my video, but you know what they look like. All those Les Pauls are the real deal, 68, 69, 70 customs. All these SGs are proper 60s. You see a couple of white Polaris white customs there. You see a bunch of SG standards. Way in the back, there's an SG special. A bunch of specials actually back. Well, not a bunch, but a few specials and juniors there in the back. Right? Unbelievable. How about all these 50s TV yellow Les Pauls, right? It's just incredible, the guitars. How about a bunch of custom color Jazz Masters and Jaguars there on the bottom, and then 50s and 60s Tellys up on the top. It bothers me that they're backwards for you guys. I don't know why, but it just does. A bunch of ES, 50s and 60s. Come on. Les Paul custom, 3 pickup customs, 56s down there on the bottom. Stellar. Here's me on the roof of a Mexican restaurant here called the Hacienda a few days ago. That's a great hang. I took a picture of a plane flying overhead and blew it up. I didn't blow up the plane. I blew the picture up bigger. That came out wrong. Gotta be careful around here. Just say that's how rumors get started. Anyway, yeah, it was flying like right overhead, and I was like zoomed in on it. That's funny. That's funny. All right. Or not funny. Funny, not funny. Okay, what else have we got here? I was going to show you Hyper Guitars. See what we got. Where's Hyper Guitars? Just going to go back and look through. There we go. Custom color Strats, 50s and 60s. Look at this. This was gorgeous. I don't know why, but I was, I kind of want a big headstock Strat like one of these days. And that sucker, it was a 69 candy apple red. Looked like it had kind of faded to a nice sort of metallic orange a little bit. It was really cool. Really cool. Oh, this was cool. How did I forget this? Rudy Schenker's gold V repainted. So I think it's a 67 V that he had repainted, and there's pictures of him, a bunch of Scorpions photos and stuff with him with that guitar. So guitar with some provenance. That was really cool. I was like, it felt great. I was like, that's awesome. Here's a Van Halen violin. Show and tell. More custom color Strats, Jazz Masters. Like you get the idea. It's endless. It's just whatever you want. If you're a vintage guitar buff, gold tops. It's bonkers. So, one of these days, they had a nice 63 SG, and one of these days I might just have to get one of those because there's still guitars that aren't, I mean, they're stupid money. But the reality is they just go up, and it's money in the bank unless something happens. It seems like that's the way it goes. The last time I was here, not the last time, but when I was looking, I would say 10 years ago here, you could, a guitar like that, a 62 or 63, 64, could be had for $9,000 to $11,000, maybe $12,000, something like that. Now they're like, maybe not, double. They're double. I mean, it's more like, I got to do the math and look and see. I don't want to misquote, but probably twice as much. I mean, will they be twice as much in another? My thing is, it's always like, will the people that care about this stuff die off? Or will it continue? With the younger generation, like as I get older and people, the generation that really drove the price increases of these guitars is probably boomers that are a little older than me. As those people pass away, and younger generations, and we're seeing all the aging rockers and rock, it's all changing. It's very sad. But as that happens, will the vintage guitar thing continue? I'd like to think it would, but have you seen the new Boss pitch shifting devices? I did. Yeah, they look pretty cool. I mean, especially the one with the big pedal, the big foot pedal, and you can also do drop tuning with it. That seems pretty interesting because you can do kind of both in one unit real easy. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for that, Blake, that super chat. Appreciate that. Helps keep the coffee flowing around here. Thank you. Saw a video where you were paying tribute to John Sykes. That was awesome. I always loved his solo on Crying in the Rain. Yeah, unbelievable solo on Crying in the Rain, right? Amazing. I'll tell you something about John that I feel like it's cool for me to relate this story. And he always brought his amps into Friedman's to be worked on. And so Friedman worked on his old boogies and PB5150s, and certainly his Jose Marshall and different Marshalls that he had stuff. So I got to know him a little bit, and he was very nice to me. He always was really complimentary. He watched some of my videos and stuff, and he even called me once to let me know when it was the Soldano plugin video for Neural DSP, and he called me on the phone to tell me, like, man, that's great. Like, you sound so good. And it was like such an honor, for him to do that. He got my number from Dave and rang me up. And so it's so nice. It through my friendship with Dave and me being around his place a lot, I've met a lot of heroes, and so that was one of them. But so anyway, Dave shared something with me, which was that John had come in and had some amps worked on, and then they picked them up and took them back, and he was so stoked on them that he recorded on his cell phone just a bunch of playing. It was like his classic, like Probably Crying in the Rain, I think, was there. I heard it. I only heard it once, but Dave had it on his phone, and he was just showing him how good it sounded at home, and playing a bunch of his riffs, and we sat there and listened to it just in kind of stunned silence for about 5 minutes. Just him just ripping on the amps that David just fixed for him, and he had, I mean, every bit of his chops and everything were all still there, and he just sounded unbelievable, So his passing away came as a great shock too, because I'd just seen him in October, and then he was in January. He was gone. I couldn't believe it. I found out when I was in a Classic Rock Show, when I was out there on the tour. We were at dinner, and somebody said, "Oh, John Sykes died," and I was like, we were having a conversation. I was like, "Wait a minute, what did you say?" John Sykes died from Whitesnake, and I was like, that's impossible. I just saw him like 2 months ago, and he was in the shop, and he looked great. He was dressed cool, and and it was a fairly quick. Anyway, but yeah, I just wanted to relate. That was only a year and a half ago or something that he, that story about the amps and him playing and sending the little audio recording to Dave or whatever, and us listening, and he just sounded amazing. So it's really sad that he didn't get to do more. I think it's sad that he never, And he expressed this too, was that he never got to me, that he never got to go play those songs with Whitesnake, to go tour that 87 album, how proud of it he was. And at the end of the day, there was a lot of animosity there, and he was pissed and still mad about it, I think, at David and all that stuff. And it wasn't, he was like pissed off. But then when he related, like, I'm just sad that I didn't get to go play. I think there was just a lot of hurt is what it was, that he never actually, that was just a unfinished business, that he would have loved to have gone and done that. So anyway, thanks for saying, I appreciate that. Yeah, there's another super chat there from David. Much love. Any opinion? Thank you. Any opinion on something like Tonex cab versus power amp and real cab? The Tonex is the only one I've tried that I was really blown away with, actually, where I was like, okay, this basically, you could probably fool me that this is a, plug a quad cortex or a helix or your Tonex certainly into it. And it was like, this basically feels like I'm playing through an amp. As far as a full range cab that really managed to capture the feel and the vibe of a guitar rig, I would say that's the one, that I've tried. But, like somebody was saying earlier, there's a new version of the power to the line 6 out and different things, and things get better. So, you might want to try that too. But generally speaking, in the past, power amp and real cab is the way that I go. I mean, I run quad cortex into a, my favorite way to do it is into a matrix power amp that I've had around, and a couple of Suhr 112s when I go on tour with Five for Fighting. That's worked out great for me. And I don't mic the cabs. I send IRs to the front of house out of the quad cortex, but I have this power amp and a couple little 112s on stage, and that basically, I get my amp yayas out that way. But would I do it? Would I try it with the? Oops, I just lost the. There we go, back on the chat window. Would I try it? Maybe with the Tonex cabs, I would give it a go. Actually, just those powered cabs, and give that a try as far as like for another Fight for Fighting tour and a little bit of sound on stage, because it does sound, they sound really good, those Tonex cabs. I tried them before. There's a video of me in Italy at IK. It's a while ago now. Is that a year ago? This is about a year ago now. Feels like longer than that, but I guess it's a year. I was there in October of, I think that's right, September or October, it doesn't matter, something like that, of last year. And that's when they showed it to me, and they were going to bring it out at NAMM, this past NAMM, which they did. And so they gave me a little early preview of it along with the other folks you could see in that video. It's a fun video if you haven't seen it. It's a bunch of us. It's Ace from Skunk Nasty and Luna DAW, who's like amazing. She's singing in it. It's actually her song we're playing. And Kifro and all, there's a bunch of us there. We're all just jamming in the video, so you can see it on the IK site if you haven't checked it out. I thought it worked out really well. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Maybe go to the IK. Just search for Pete Thorn, Tora, Ace, IK Multimedia. That video will pop up. And we're playing a song of Tora's that basically we all had to. The goal was we all find a couple tones in a Tonex, and that's it. We just basic sounds in the Tonex, all the effects, everything coming out of the Tonex, and find a part and play something musical. And to put, I think it was 5 of us, 5 guitar players together, and not have anybody step on each other and actually do something musical. I felt like we really pulled it off. Like everybody had their own vibe and their own little part, 5 guitar players playing at once on a song that's kind of sparse, actually. And we each found a vibe and managed to come up with an arrangement. We kind of learned the song, did the arrangement one day, came in the next day, picked up the guitars, remembered what we'd done, and then we did a few takes. And that's what you see in the video. And then the guys at IK they've got some engineers there, they're great, they mixed it and stuff. But that's, you're seeing basically a live version of what we came up with. And I think it was a neat idea, and it was a fun project, and I made new friends out of it and stuff. It was really cool. So Blue Murder was effing awesome, says Richard. They were. Blue Murder's great. Like when I go back and listen to it now, it's cool. Do your strings still feel heavier when in Japan? Not really. I mean, I'm on 9s now, so if I can't handle that, then I should just quit. But that was really when it's hot and humid, I found. And it's warm out, but it's not like summertime hot here, like it was when I was doing that tour. where this was the thing where I found that 10s felt like 11s, you know, 9s felt like 10s here. In high heat and high humidity, I was just finding that strings felt way heavier than I was used to, and just a little something I noticed here. John Sykes with Whitesnake on the Slide It In tour opening for Quiet Riot. Fantastic. Yeah, he was great. Like when he joined up with him around 84, and you can see those videos at Donington, or not at Donington, at Rock in Rio. His solo, like the Crying in the Rain solo, it's like, holy shit, is that ever ferocious? Like I just love that playing coming from him. It was so good. Can you still get Matrix power amps? No, I don't think so. I had one conversation with the fellow that, I'm not gonna lie, was a little strange, and he seemed like he was, well, I won't throw him under the bus or anything, but he was just a little disgruntled about the business and everything like that, and said he was basically out of the game. I have an issue with one, and really the one that I have that I've been using for a few years now is a loaner from Steve Stevens, because I had an issue. I should just find a repair shop and somebody that can fix it, but my Matrix wasn't working. All of a sudden it crapped out on me, and I needed one kind of in short order, and Steve got me one to use, and I've been using it ever since. So yeah, basically a 2 rack space power amp. Reality is, with Five for Fighting, I probably now could just go to the like I could probably just give Steve back his power amp and then replace it with the 2 notes, the Reload 2, because it's got a great power amp in it, and we don't play, like with Five for Fighting, I don't play very loud or anything like that. That'd be more than enough power. There is a nice super chat there from Steve. Thanks for Sunday Live. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for the super chat. You guys are too kind, and sorry about the odd time. I know it's late everywhere, very early in Europe, I guess, and late in America, but hopefully some people will tune in later and watch my rambling. If you're in America and we're already in bed or something. Just reading through the chat here. The screen's kind of dark. It's hard to read because I'm trying to not waste the battery on the computer. Because of my power situation here. What else we got here? Let's see. Just looking back through the chat, I think I'm gonna jet in been on about an hour. I'm gonna cut this one at about maybe an hour and 10 minutes. Where'd you get a pick of all my guitars? All the vintage guitars. Yeah, amazing. Killer violin. Yeah, it's crazy, right? The Van Halen violin. Yeah. Stop that. That's how rumors get started. That's what I'm talking about. Oh my God. What's this? The guitar picks are not backwards. Very good. Oh, really? They're not. That's interesting. So when I see it here, maybe it's backwards, but maybe the way it goes out to you guys is the other way around. I don't know. I'm always reversing the, mirror my screen thing, and maybe I've been backwards all these years, but they aren't backwards. That's so interesting. For me, they look like left-handed guitars when I was holding up the photos. So that's so strange. Well, good to know. Yeah. I recently sold, who's this? Let's see. Richard said, I recently sold 25 to 30 guitars, so my case babies get more love and I can put some money aside for something special. That's smart. I really should do that too, like go through and I need to do, some spring cleaning, and, it's silly. Sometimes I'm a bit of a hoarder, I think. And any old Gibson Explorers. Didn't see any 50s Explorers. I don't even think I saw a V, but generally those guitars, even in these kinds of shops, you might see one sometimes. I may have seen like a 50s V or something in a shop, but those guitars, like I don't generally see bursts hanging on walls, but they're there. At any given time, these guys have probably got a line on at least, or a burst or two, or whatever, however many, and probably a V and a Explorer. They just kind of don't put them out as much, I don't think. So yeah. Yeah. Paul's saying, have you tried floor sleeping since you are in Japan? Been doing it for 10 years. It's amazing. I generally don't like it. I find it screws me up, hard bed even, or lying on the, it's just I wake up feeling like I got hit by a truck. Is there a way I'm supposed to do it? Probably because I sleep on my side and it's not good for the old spine. Richard says that Aerosmith Youngblood track is awesome. I really like it too. I think it sounds great. Cool song. Like good tune, really. Yeah. All right, down to the bottom of the chat here. Do you see Hamers? Not really over here. I don't know that I've ever seen a Hamer used. I'm sure they're here, but it's more Fender, Gibson. They're probably Hamers over here. They probably made it over here with Rick Nielsen and everything, Cheap Trick, and but being big. But yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a used. Something like really like ooh, or there's a lot of Japanese guitars, obviously. You see a lot of Bernies, Grecos, Tokais, Area Pro 2, that kind of thing. So, you said Steve Stevens need to do a video with both playing together. There's an old video. Yeah, there's at least 13 years ago that I remember doing it at his former place in LA with the Suhr guitar with mine was a tiger stripe, I think, and his had some other animal pattern on it. And we did a tune together. That was really fun. I love working with Steve. I miss him, actually. I don't get to see him that much anymore. Been listening to Vi's album, The Story of Light, a lot. So good. Yeah, Steve's amazing. He just gets better too, I think. Like his writing and stuff just gets really, really, really interesting as time goes on. Not that it wasn't always, Just wanted to say thanks for all the efforts you put into live streams. You always answer my questions. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and it's always good. It's good for my mental health, actually. I don't know what it is hanging with you guys, but it's been a grounding thing for me for 5-6 years now. So it feels good. And I spend a lot of time probably just in thought about different things, and my mind going here and my mind going there, and just actually focusing on guitar is probably what it is, and the love of music, which is such a big part of my life. And can tend to get lost a little as we get older and worry about other things and stuff like that, right? Maybe it's just a good cleansing for my mind to just talk about something that I'm jazzed on for a while, not have a distraction from the phone or news or any of that, right? So it's good for me to appreciate it. Let's see here. Thanks for the super chat, BB Zonka. Did the TC Mimic not work for your stereo spread? I feel like I didn't use the Mimic right. I know that it's the choice of John Petrucci now, even over the 2290. So maybe I'm just doing something wrong. Not sure. But, I had good luck using my SD 3000 in the way that John Petrucci used to use a TC 2290 to split sounds for on the Satch Vi tour on songs like Surfing with the Alien. I was using wide split stereo rhythm thing, and it worked great. But the Mimic, I thought about trying it, but it's just like not enough time and stuff. And then it's like I was basically getting the results I wanted, and it was basically reminding me of exactly what I was hearing from the 2290 when I tried it. I try it in the 2290 video. If you want to hear what I'm talking about, my TC 2290 demo, I show the stereo split and how 7 millisecond split or whatever it is. I think I'm using more like 11 actually live with Joe and Steve. This is to get a widespread rhythm guitar that just kind of is left, right, not a lot up the middle. And then I'm leaving the hole for them, kind of simulating a panned rhythm guitar with a hole up the middle for the lead stuff. Yeah. 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 Your stylist has that feathering down. I don't know if it's feathered or just a mop on the top of my head. I finally got the top like short, like it's basically a short haircut on top is what it is. And then it, that's the old shag, that gets into, there's kind of the 80s version of it, which I'm almost veering towards with the way that it is right now. But I was really going for 1973. So you know, I think the sides need to grow out a little bit, but it's really, really, I'm happy with it right now. I like where the, at least it didn't get up and leave. So I'm happy about that. What's the 7-string Suhr that you used with Satchby? So it's really like their 7-string models are all custom. You have to kind of configure each one. So it's a modern, because they are. That's the one they make in 7-string. You can't get like a Suhr standard 7-string. It's got to be a modern body style. So it's a modern basswood back, maple top, because that's what John suggested, and I went for it. I just said you configure it, and I'm happy with it. It was a lot of his choices. The neck shape is the modern 7. Pickups are, I don't even know, whatever they generally put on. I just said you guys configure how you build this guitar. Sort of modern hard rock metal 7-string. Make me that guitar, and they did it, and I love it. Maybe the only thing I wish I'd done different on it is the back of the guitar is silver, and then it has scrape binding, and the top is silver. And I think I wish I'd done a black back, kind of like my signature guitars. But I love that guitar, and it's probably the only 7-string I'll ever need. It's a terrific guitar, and it's perfect as it is. So, what speaker cable gauge do you use for a 100-watt amp to a 412 cab? If you're running a short run, it doesn't really, I mean, you can use 16 gauge and it's fine. Generally speaking, I use heavier cables. Maybe I think the ones that are in my studio going all the way out to, from my studio room out to my live room are 13 gauge, kind of a weird gauge, but they're a European brand. I can't remember it's a German brand of cable. And they have these 13 gauge ones, and it's like, yeah, okay, that's cool. I just, mentioned to them it was for long cable runs, and they had that, because I think generally they're like even number gauges, like 12, but this is a third, maybe because it's like they measure in metric. I don't know why, but anyways, yeah, I think you probably just, whatever good, I think 14 is probably fine. Maybe you can get like 15 gauge speaker cable. I don't know. Not really sure. But just the smaller the number, the bigger the gauge is what I know. And I know that it's not really that consequential unless you're running long, like over 10 feet kind of speaker cables. It's not really that important. If you're just 100-watt tube head, a standard 16 gauge, you can use lamp cord, I think, right? So, yeah, want to be on the safe side, use maybe a 14 or something, or 13 like me, just big beefy one. Yeah, 14 gauge. Yeah, that's fine. Definitely fine. You think you'll write some songs on 7-string? Well, I already did a couple videos where I'm playing it and with some riffs, and yeah, I'd love to. I mean, it's kind of cool. It opens up doors with chords. I love the way that Steve does it. Not just down tune, it's not just metal or whatever. It's like when he does voicings, it's like big open chord voicings with that it just opens up a world for writing. So I think I probably would. Yeah, I quite like it. Is your Japanese getting better? Are you understanding more of the lyrics from Chiyoshi's songs? Yeah, to some degree. I mean, I practice every day. So, yeah. Mayasa, ichiji kan, benkyou shimasu. I practiced 1 hour every morning. Yeah. Nihongo renshu wa daisuki desu. I love Japanese practice. Japanese language practice. Yeah, it's fun. It's good for my mental. Once again, something that I feel like I'm using a part of my brain that maybe I only use to when I'm doing music or learning things these days, but also maybe just a part that I haven't used since school, like in learning and when I was a little kid. It opens up doors. I mean, reading is really fun. Like I can read, quite well. Let's see here. This is a, if you're looking at this, guest questionnaire, right? So we know what that says, but I can actually read that. I can read the hiragana. So a lot of words in Japanese are loan words, right? So from another language. So this would be, that's good, 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 get, or sorry, get, su, to, ko, what's that? Ko, menとかとコメントカードコメントカード guest, this says guest questionnaire, but it's guest comment card, right? So sometimes you're like, what am I saying? And then, there it is. So a lot of Japanese words, guest comment card. You can't say that. They won't know what you mean. You got to gesto commento cardo. Cardo, with a space in the middle, like a little cardo. That's what that line is right there. I think it's supposed to be like 10 or 15% of words, and it's becoming more all the time in Japanese, or these loan words, they call them, from other languages. It's not all English either. It could be, there's some words I don't recognize that are a loan word, obviously, from another language. But anyway, I love being able to, like, you saw how, like my face light up when I figured out what that said. Gesto commento cardo. It's just fun to walk around here and just read things for me and figure out what, and through practice, like just like guitar practice or whatever, I'm getting faster, where I'm finding I can read things with a little bit more efficiency and speed, and that's fun, for me. So yeah, so commento cardo. Yeah. And if you say that, like when I order coffee, for instance, kohi is coffee, right? Because it's the closest sound you can make. There's specific sounds you can make in Japanese. Kohi. So oat milk. Oat milk. Milk is like, that's another lazy one that's become a loan word, because gyunu is milk. So I always thought, oto gyunu, right? No, you just say oto milk. Hot de, or ice for hot or cold. I always thought, do I have to say sumitai for cold, or atsui for hot? No, they just go hot de or ice de. And oki size, big one. Chisai size, small one. That kind of stuff. And so, yeah. Mochi kairimasu, to go. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. All right, I'm going to split you guys, and I'm going to go out and use some of this knowledge of mine to probably get another coffee and go look at some guitars and stuff. And then I got to do a little rehearsal. Got to go over some songs today. So I'll come back to this room eventually and do that. But I better get out there in the world and experience a little bit more of the land we know. That's Japan. There it is out there. Shibuya, waiting for a little bit of Pete Thorn to come out, cause some trouble. Everybody have a great week, and like I say, I'll try and see if I can do the stream next week at a more, maybe 8 a.m. LA time or something like that, 8:30, 9 a.m. Would that be better? Probably be better, right? But at least we had about 150 people here, I think, for most of the stream, so that was great. Appreciate you all. Have a great week. Be nice to one another, and enjoy yourselves out there. Take it easy. Hit the thumbs up on your way out if you don't mind. See y'all.